Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kirbside Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Kirby. Uh, Thank you for joining us here tonight as we interview independent wrestling star and from what it looks like in the background, a horror movie buff. Definitely going to get into that. Uh, Anthony Gangone. Anthony, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So before we get started, as always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, tap a little bell on your YouTube app so you never miss an upload, and buy the shirts at prowrestlingtees.com. And a quick shout out to our sponsors, Raise Energy at repsports.com. Use the promo code Kirbside8 at checkout to get yourself a nice little discount. And use the same promo code Kirbside8 at jerkypro.com. So Anthony, thank you for sitting down with me. I greatly appreciate it. Like I said in the intro, you're kind of a independent wrestler. You're all over the place. Been on, Creative Pro, AEW Dark, CCW, all kinds of companies in the area. Like I said, thank you for joining us. I'll get started with the simplest and easiest question. Where did Anthony Gangone get his start in pro wrestling?
I first got my start. I trained initially at House of Glory. Then I moved on, and I've been all over the place since then.
Nice. When you got started in wrestling, who were some of your go-to idols? Who were the people that you watched on TV that really got you hooked into pro wrestling?
Well, I'm a 90s kid, but I had a lot of tapes from like the 80s and stuff. So when I first started watching wrestling, obviously it was on TV, but I would go kind of backlog on a lot of things, and like WrestleMania 4 through like 8 were always in my VHS.
Nice.
If you guys remember that. And so yeah, I kind of grew up like loving the Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man and all that, and Jake the Snake Roberts. I would say that Jake the Snake Roberts is still someone that carried over from my childhood to adulthood as far as people that I've been influenced by. And then I would say that my second biggest influence was the Ring of Honor days in the mid 2000s, when you had guys like Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson and Austin Aries, and that whole like locker room and roster at that time were really great to watch as a preteen / teenager, whatever I was at that point.
No, those are some amazing talents. From what I've gotten to see you in the ring, definitely see some Jake Roberts in there. Definitely, some of the more innovative offense that you have is definitely comes from. I can see guys in that time in Ring of Honor where guys are really trying to not so much make it off their gimmick, but make it off of what they can do in the ring and doing moves that like are different and stand out. So I could see the influence. So huge respect and props for that.
Thank you.
Of course. So you started in House of Glory. Roughly around what time frame was that? About how long have you been doing this thing that they call pro wrestling?
I guess it would be it's like 10 years now. So I started when I was a teenager, and yeah, so yeah, 10 years now.
Hmm. For some strange reason, I thought you'd been doing it just a few years longer than me. I hit 10 years back in February. So
Okay. Yeah, well, we probably started around the same time then.
Yeah, probably. Probably what it was is you started up here. I started a little bit farther down south, and I didn't get exposed to you till I moved up here to Jersey.
Okay, makes sense.
So, training at House of Glory with, or I guess, who was the trainer at House of Glory at the time when you were?
Um, it was at the time it was Red, and it was Brian, and but my class was like private party. So
Oh wow.
yeah, it was like Quinn and Isaiah. So yeah.
So, and then what was it? I guess what was as far as your training like at House of Glory? I know how different schools have different methods, different styles. What was it kind of like coming up in House of Glory?
It was interesting. I would say that um, there was a lot of your own kind of uh, like creative, I guess, juices there. I mean, all I could really say about the train, it was like very good for like cardio and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I think other places kind of have a better um if you want to learn like more of the performance aspect of it as far as like promo and stuff like that. But it was very good for like in-ring cardio and learning the moves properly.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I can respect that. I definitely, when I was coming up, a lot of uh, a lot of my training revolved around realism because I was coming up in the Mid Atlantic, so all those guys grew up in the NWA territories and really focused on the NWA. The running joke is the wrestling style, so uh, I can respect where House of Glory comes. So, you said you coming up with guys like Mark Quinn and Private Party. Who are some of your more favorite opponents, at least in your formative years, and then moving into nowadays?
I would say I think all honesty, Mark Quinn was very fun to wrestle. He was at the time, sometimes working singles, wasn't fully because Isaiah wasn't um, of age at that point to
Right.
because you have to be 18 in New York at that time.
Mhm.
So Mark Quinn, because it was just so easy and so much fun, and that you get to do things that you just get to be more snug, I guess is the right word, with your friends. And there's
Right.
like no real like hard feelings about it. So, and it's like we both kind of brought the best out of each other at that time. And we knew how to complement one another in what we did when we did wrestle and then when we were a tag team. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would have to think about nowadays, I guess, who I enjoy. I really don't. I rarely have a negative match experience with someone. Um, so I guess that's relatively positive. Even people that I don't particularly care for, we had some very good in-ring chemistry with one another. So
Good. Well, very good. I got to talk to Sean Donovan a couple weeks ago, uh, and he brought up the same thing. You when it comes to working certain people, you can you're more comfortable with one another, and you can really bring out the best in one another. As far as my two, I would have to say either A, Charlie Bonifer, just because me and him we think similar, so we're not gonna be as timid with one another. We're gonna be a little more snug, lay it in a little more, and then have no hard feelings in the back. And another person that I'm super comfortable with, I consider him best friend, an older brother, and someone that you have been in the ring with multiple times. One Mr. Bo Crockett.
okay, I know,
Uh,
bro. I know, Bo.
Bo unofficially adopted me as his little brother when I was coming into the wrestling world, and easily some of my best matches were with Bo. And I think because he helped me come into the wrestling business and help train me a little bit, he really understood where to put my strong suits and where to hide those weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, when I wrestled Bo twice, and the first time was a very fun match. The second time, I had one of my worst injuries occur
Ooh.
during that match. My shoulder, my labrum was torn in that match, and I don't know exactly, but we probably went another 10 minutes,
Mhm.
and it was still a pretty good match, regardless of only having one arm. And He really took care of me, so there's always a special place in my heart for Bo.
I definitely, before I came on the broadcast, I had to tell him that I was interviewing his quote unquote his arch nemesis, because he's definitely wanted to wrestle you more than just the two times. He's begging for more. So
Yeah, I think it's best maybe I go down to where he's at,
mhm,
because the two times that we wrestled, I believe we're both in New Jersey.
mhm.
So maybe it's time for me to go in his neck of the woods. I did see him in West Virginia in December. We were separate matches, but yeah, so we'll see where that goes.
Well, I am looking forward to seeing you guys tear it up again. So outside of the ring, I can kind of see back behind you. What are some of the things that interest Anthony Gangone outside of just really good wrestling and, you know, having good opponents?
Well, I mean, as far as like, hobbies outside of wrestling, I really enjoy like I guess pop culture related things. It's almost, like horror movies and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I mean everything else is pretty simple as far as like when I'm not wrestling, doing shows, whatever. It's just hanging out with my dogs and uh my significant other and friends and family. So yeah. No, I'm pretty boring when it comes to all that. Yeah.
I mean, I can see behind you. You've got a Krampus poster. You're rocking the Friday the 13th, and is that a Cthulhu T-shirt you're wearing?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Yes, it is.
love love some Lovecraft myself. So I would say you got some interests back there. What would you say is probably your go-to horror movie when someone asks?
It's two. I would say my two favorite horror movies. It's hard depending on the day. So it's either Fright Night from 1985,
Oh, nice.
or
Okay.
it's Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. So yeah,
All right, I can get behind that.
yes.
Classic. Very nice. So with your pop culture, because you know, when I wrestle, I steal from all of pop culture. I know, unfortunately, we've never gotten to get in the ring with one another, but I steal everything. I've stolen the Falcon Punch from Nintendo, the Hadouken from Street Fighter. Uh, what are some of the things that, you know, you try to take from pop culture, or you try to take from the outside world and kind of form into your wrestling character?
Yeah, I mean, I used to kind of take a lot from other wrestlers or
Mhm.
storylines, stuff like that. But then, eventually when I was like, oh, how do I stand out more? I started more taking more from like other medium. So one example is like during many of Christmas time
Mhm.
or a holiday time, I have like this Krampus style outfit. So it was like kind of there's like fur at the bottom, kind of like what Brody
Nice.
used to have, or Berserker, depending if you
Mhm.
don't know who Brody is. And yeah, and then like the the main mask that I have is based off the Guy Fox mask,
Mhm.
but I morphed it so that it has a beard and stuff, and it was a whole like wrestling my own image kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But honestly, I think yeah, I take a lot from like movies and pop culture. I wouldn't say the moves necessarily,
Right.
but more of the performance aspect of everything. Yeah.
No, no, I dig that. I definitely dig that. Um, so with so I remember seeing you because we talked briefly about Private Party, seeing you on AEW Dark, getting your opportunity. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
I
you.
definitely celebrate. I was like, yes, he did it. So
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, AEW.
yeah. Um I noticed that you have a new manager in the past few years. and that manager has definitely gotten his hands on a lot of talent. What is it like to be part of the embassy?
Um, well, I think for me, it's very important because when I left House of Glory, under very nefarious reasons, Jimmy Rave was one of the few veterans at the time that gave me the time of day. So, and I talked to Jimmy. Sometimes it was very hard to get a hold of him because of everything that was going on.
Right.
But I talked to Jimmy up to that same day that I did AEW,
Mhm.
and it was important to me to ask him his permission to be Jimmy Rave approved member of the embassy, which I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that's approved. And so yeah, it kind of it was important to me. I did not expect him to die so quickly, I guess. I knew that he probably was on borrowed time because of everything that was going on, but it was just very strange to do that deal, talk to him about it, and him giving me advice about all that stuff.
Mhm.
And then him, passing away. I was one of the first people that found out that he passed away.
Mhm.
And then unfortunately in wrestling, it probably was put out there a little bit more quickly than maybe his family or spouses, whatever wanted it to be.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he died the night before that AEW Elevation
Mhm.
came out. But and like Nana, I was always like a fan of Nana,
Mhm.
and we would interact um, here and there throughout the years, and he was always relatively positive
Mhm.
towards me, and he's helped me out a lot in many ways, and he knows that. But yeah, I mean, it's very cool because for me, the embassy is kind of when I watched Ring of Honor as well. Even though by the time that I started watching Ring of Honor, it was kind of the best version of Jimmy Rave and Alex Shelley and Abyss.
Mhm.
And Nana obviously was kind of winding down, and then it was kind of the second version that came about and all that. But yeah, so but it's really an honor. I think it means something to me. I can't speak for anybody else, but it means something to me to uh, get that stamp of approval from those two men.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely myself I considered Jimmy a friend, definitely a mentor. Um, got to I wish I got to spend more time with him, but I got to pick his brain on about a 6 hour one way road trip down to North Carolina. Just absolute blast. He was a great person to be around. Never, at least I've never had a bad thing to say about him. It was interesting because when I was growing up, I remember Jimmy Ray from Impact as him and Lance as the Rock and Raven infection. And then saw him one day. I want to say it was GTS here in Jersey. I was like, "Is
Okay.
that like the Jimmy Ray, like the one from Impact?" Because he looked so different. Because he didn't have the blonde slicked hair. He didn't have the rock star look. He looked like everyone knows Jimmy looks like, and I was like, "Oh my god, that is Jimmy Ray."
Right.
So it was an absolute pleasure getting to learn from him, getting to ask him advice. I unfortunately I've never gotten the chance to meet Nana, but I would love to. And if he ever wants to come on the show, he's more than welcome. If he ends up listening to this. But I when it came to Jimmy, um he helped me live out a dream I didn't realize I had until literally our only one match we had. I Because I wrestled him and I wrestled the Barbarian a couple years before that. I had gotten to wrestle someone from WWE, WCW, Impact, Ring of Honor, and New Japan. And the fact that Jimmy is the one that gave me that chance, that opportunity, it was an absolute pleasure.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky to last 2 years of his life. I worked with him pretty closely when it came to wrestling. It was a lot more than just, in ring stuff. So,
Mhm. No, I 100% respect that, and you know, Jimmy will always be one of our favorites. So, um, with that, because I remember a very short time where you got to work for CZW. Uh, you I want to say end up winning their tag team titles, and got a cool little run there. Specifically because of who your tag team partner was. What was it like teaming up with? I mean, he's kind of a local legend, Matt Tremont.
oh, well, yeah. So initially when I won the tag titles,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a whole nother story. But what I will say, I was looking for tag partners, and I guess my goal was to be the worst CZW tag team champion of all time. Uh, and it was like just such weird timing on everything, and you know how wrestling is. So it was like there was like a tournament of death, and then there was like a joint show with I think WXW from, I want to say, Germany.
Mhm.
Sorry if I got that wrong. And so like the tag titles weren't really defended for a while. So I was looking for a tag partner. And I thought Matt Tremont was the best option because he was having his own issues with CZW management.
Mhm.
And yeah, Matt is maybe not the best tag partner, but he's a great opponent to have.
Mhm.
And that was my first pseudo death match, I guess. And I don't think there's anybody better you can have your first death match with than Matt Tremont. So
I don't think so either. I'd love to get Tremont here on the show and talk to him, but I specifically remembered that because that was around the time where I was still training with CZW. I was still around Jimmy a lot. I was around Joe Gacy a lot, so it was something that stuck out in my mind. Um, and unfortunately, just things fell through with them. Unfortunately, I didn't agree with some of management's decisions either. So, um, which kind of brings me into something that, yeah, and if you want to talk about, we can. If you don't, well, I'll move on, and I'll. But something that really led to a connection, at least for me, with you, is how you, at least for a short time on Facebook, really, really hardcore posted about your mental health and
mhm.
taking care of yourself and making sure that there are positive people around you. And I remember that because I myself suffer from anxiety, depression, un unofficially diagnosed imposter syndrome. So I understand struggling with one's mental health, and your post really spoke out to me and a few other people as far as, hey, you're not alone in this struggle. We know it's hard. It's gonna be hard, but you're not alone in it. And that really, really connected with me, at least on a personal level.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's very nice. Thank you for
Absolutely.
saying that. I'm a little, like, honestly, as a human being, I'm a little disappointed that I don't talk about it as much. And there's when you leave yourself open that way, and you speak about those things, and I'm diagnosed with bipolar.
Hmm.
um and people can use that and weaponize it. And I unfortunately thought maybe for me at that time it wasn't best for me to speak about it for my own mental health.
Hmm.
But I mean, I'm trying to kind of turn the corner on that.
Hmm.
I just I would like I, and I was telling Valentina this. I'd like to speak more about it when I have a bigger platform.
Hmm.
Um, because it means something to me. I
Hmm.
don't, I could care less about, or couldn't care less about likes and all that,
Right.
or I don't want it to be my brand.
Right.
and
Right. That's
and
understandable.
because it's serious to me and it
Absolutely.
means a lot to me. And I've been there where you feel really alone
Mhm.
and you feel like no one's around you. And unfortunately, there were times where it's like self inflicted
Mhm.
kind of things, and being there and wanting to die and trying to die and all that. And no matter who the person is, even if I don't care for them, I don't want anyone to feel that way. And when you say things like that, and other people bring it up, it's like I'm disappointed in myself in a lot of ways,
Mm.
because I just sorry, getting emotional,
No, you're
because
fine.
I allowed like outside things to dictate something that was really helping people.
Mhm.
And that's all I cared about when I would write that stuff.
Right.
And it wasn't even my own, like, I didn't tell anybody about a lot of that stuff until somebody, for whatever reason, thought it was a good idea to say that I was bipolar before I said it was, before I say it was. So that was a little,
Right.
shitty, but it was turned out to be a good thing for a lot of people. And hopefully, I get to a point where I'm able to speak about it again freely,
Mhm.
and hopefully, help even just one person. But I'm glad that it did help you. And
Mhm.
I'm part of some groups that every once in a while I'll read something, and I'll post my opinion and
Mhm.
try to help best way I can to the things that help me. So
Absolutely. No, no, thank you for sharing it. It truly does mean a lot. Um, my, we'll dive into a little bit about me here. Um, my grandpa, I didn't get a chance to meet him. I was still a baby when he passed away, but my mom's dad, he had bipolar disorder. One of my favorite cousins growing up who passed away when I was I think I was about 13 at the time, was diagnosed with bipolar, and definitely it's definitely a struggle, and a lot of people, especially back then, because this was, I don't know, maybe 2006, 2007, there weren't as many advances, and it wasn't as prevalent in, I guess, I guess you could say as prevalent in the world. It's not as addressed in the world as it is now. I can find easily anything on Facebook or Twitter, or especially a strange platform that I didn't think it would come out through, TikTok. There's a lot of TikTok content out there that's just about, hey, you're doing a good job, keep it up. Hey, I know today sucks, but tomorrow's going to be better. So at least I've realized in the past few years, because I went through a lot of just personal business that I won't bore anyone with here, but I I went through it, and then when later on down the road, especially with like long distance relationships, I would have these like just thoughts of loneliness and thoughts of anxiety. And I'm like, these aren't healthy. And I need to seek some kind of help. And I did. And it really did help me. And looking for that help, and looking for whatever that outlet is for you, is super important. And I got the help that I needed, and I really focused on getting myself better. And that was around the time that you were posting those, is when I was first starting, and it really helped. So I definitely can sympathize with you. I don't think you should have any kind of shame, because what you did is enough. And if you want to do more, then I definitely say do more. And this at least this podcast, and at least me, we are always open to hearing more from you.
Well, thank you. You also have the distinction now of being the only podcast I somewhat teared up in. So,
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, you're the only person to get emotional during one of my interviews. So this is,
I'm not sure if that does, but no, but yeah, I mean, and thank you for sharing a little bit of your stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm good now.
Yeah.
It's I've always, for the past few years, I really have a wonderful life now. I have the right people around me, good spouse, good family, all that. So great dogs. So I don't want, but I mean, I still have gone to therapy, even being happy. And so I talked to my therapist, and they're like, well, maybe that's honestly maybe the best time to go, because you're more clear minded. And I tend to agree. But I mean, those struggles, the one thing that I do want, if anybody listens to this, I do want people to know is that, um, my own personal story is that a lot of time it felt like there was no other option. Like I was living in hell. But now, being in the position that I am in now, it's like, man, I would have missed so much. Not only that, but I would have um, broke a lot of people's hearts if I wasn't here anymore. People that matter to me now. And so it's rough, and to better yourself, because of a lot of your own actions, stuff like that is clouded when you're in that kind of position. But it is hard work. There's no magic pill. There's no like, you have to look at things objectively and say, this is what I can take um from certain situations, what you think about yourself, or whatever, and just look at everything objectively and see what's best. So but yeah, I mean, that's what worked for me, and hopefully, anyone that is happens to listen to this that is struggling, um it's hard work, but you can do it, and there can be better days ahead for anybody.
Absolutely. And I mean, going through just my own issues, I've definitely felt uh when things are not ideal, there are always people that are willing to be there for you. Unfortunately, recently my co-host left the show for personal reasons between the two of us, and it was heartbreaking. Like it hurt a lot. And I run, if you can't see it, it's normally glowing. I have giant D&D dice back here. We also run a D&D podcast through Kirbside. Everyone in the party, as soon as they heard that she was leaving and the reasons why, immediately, we're here for you. If you need anything, we're here. And so having good people around you and having that kind of support is super important.
Yeah, and but I also like to say, like, some people may not have that luxury of
Mhm.
having a support system,
Right.
and to those people too, is that it is possible as well to either find that support system, or to um do it in a way, not, I don't want to say on your own, but where you're better than you think you are in these
Absolutely.
situations. And I know, like, it's for some people it is difficult to get certain health care
Mhm.
for various reasons. So but there is relatively affordable options out there. So better health, I'm sure every podcast anyone ever listens to knows about it. But I mean, it's one of those things where, if possible, it is best to invest in yourself and get some kind of treatment. But yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Um, you're 100% right. You know, not everyone has that luxury, but you know, if you do, don't take it for granted, and if you don't, there's always someone else. But with that, we'll veer a little bit more positive, a little bit brighter on the subject. What's in the future for Anthony Gangone? What can we look forward to as far as either whether it be the next show coming up, someone you're looking forward to wrestling, maybe another dark appearance? What's in the future for Anthony Gangone?
I think the best answer is that you're just gonna have to wait and see.
Ooh.
But yeah, I mean, there's always things on the horizon, and wrestling is super weird because one day you can be at a local show and the next day you can be on TV, so you never quite know. I do have two shows next week, the 10th and the 11th. One is SWA Wrestling. I'll be facing Chris Caden there. And I also have Project Code Wrestling in New Jersey. I believe it's Union. And I have a main event match, first time ever that I've been in a main event scramble match. So yeah, that's more of a unique spin on the scramble match because it's usually not the main event, but
Right.
for that company, it's more of a star-studded scramble with a lot of their main eventers. So I'm looking forward to that. But everything else, usually I'll have at least one show a weekend,
Mhm.
and you can check me out in various places.
Nice. And correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Project Code the TJ Marconi's promotion? Or does
He's
he work for
involved.
there? He's
Yes,
involved.
he is
Okay.
involved. Yes.
I I heard the name not this past weekend, but 2 weeks ago, because I got a chance to wrestle TJ. And I know that the two of you have all kinds of history.
Yes.
And it definitely sounds like even more in the future. So I got a chance to work TJ. I've known him for years, but I've never got to work him before. So that was we'll call it a dream match a little bit because there's a little bit of similarities between me and him. You know, we're both bigger guys that work the bigger style, but can go with anyone. So getting a chance to get in there with him was a blast, and I've seen a couple matches with the two of you tearing it up as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've been partners, we've been opponents, we've been friends, we've been not friends. It's everything in between. But yeah, I mean, TJ has been a very positive person in my life in many ways in my career, and we'll see what the future holds. I know he was kind of today talking about Crusade for Change, which
Mhm.
was a stable that we were both a part of and beyond, and we never lost a match, for saying. And
Hey.
yeah, so but yeah, uh, I don't. I'll say it. I love TJ. So yeah.
Don't worry, I totally won't go text him that you were talking about him on the podcast. I promise. But that we'll wrap up here. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to sit down and talk to you. Um, hopefully maybe I can make it to one of the shows. I definitely want to see more Anthony Gangone in the ring, and I definitely even maybe want to get in there with him.
Well, I mean, I look forward to that day whenever it comes.
But thank you for joining me. Thank you for sitting down and sharing your story, sharing your personal life. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you anyone that's listening to this. And yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So before we go, before I do the little outro, where can the good people of the internet find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Anthony Gangone, Instagram at Anthony Gangone _. Just type in my name on Facebook, and you should see my AEW Dark elevation picture. So yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. Anthony, thank you for joining me. And as always, before we sign off, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, tap the little bell on your YouTube app so you never miss an upload, and buy the shirts at prowrestlingtees.com. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.